Hello, music fans, and welcome to this week's edition of last week's album. I am Kevin,
I'm Derek.
and we will kick things off like we always do, drinking a beer. Cheers. All right, this week we are reviewing an album called Junip by a band called Junip. They have actually released an album prior, but this is their sophomore album. Interestingly enough, they were formed in '98, but because of their lead singer's sort of solo career took off, they kind of took a hiatus, and now they're back. So that sort of tells you why this one's called Junip, sort of them reestablishing themselves. Junip is lead vocalist and guitarist Jose Gonzalez, Elias Araya on drums, and Tobias Winkerton on
Whoa.
synths.
Kevin, you're forgetting about Håkan Werenstrand, tambourine on number 6. Read the liner notes.
My bad. Special appearance on one track on one instrument. Thank you, Derek.
Kevin, the tambourine really brings that song together, really.
I see that. Let's talk about that more when we get there. Let's start with sounds like, Derek. I have sounds like that little voice in your head set to beautiful harmonies, atmospheric synths, winding guitars, and driving drums. What do you think Junip sounds like, Derek?
I kind of liken this back to two reviews we did back when they were written, but I think it sounds like The Tallest Man on Earth meets Father John Misty.
All right. Yep. I can hear that. I also thought it sounded a little bit like Broken Bells in certain places. But moving on to key tracks, I have Your Life, Your Call, Villian, and Walking Lightly. What do you have for key tracks, Derek?
I agree with you on Your Life, Your Call, and Walking Lightly, but I also had Suddenly as well.
All right, well, I think Suddenly comes before these others. I think it's number 2 on the album. Tell us why you liked it.
Yeah, so Suddenly kicks off with kind of a lazy, fluttering acoustic guitar riff against kind of this dark, reverberating, deep synth kind of blast. And later on, though, kind of the synth, apart from that, kind of mimics the warmer guitar line. They really contrast well the kind of acoustic guitar sound against the kind of more electronic synths and the like. And I just think it really comes together very well in that one. It just kind of sounds like a lonely song of love lost from some guy stuck in outer space somewhere. Kind of an intriguing song.
Yeah, and that's a good sort of introduction, I think, to this band's sound. You mentioned acoustic, electronic, and spacey, and those are all 3 big keywords I have throughout my notes here. But for my first key track, I have Your Life, Your Call. You mentioned some spacey effects. You also hear those here with dark synths, upbeat percussion, even a few hand claps, a bright synth lead, chill, sort of emotive lyrics, which are sort of a standard for Junip. And then I don't know if it's an organ, an accordion, or a harmonica, but there's something light in the background there that's really nice. And it's one of the brighter sounding tracks on the album. A lot of them are sort of dark and chill, and this one stood out to me because of that sort of brighter tone overall.
Yeah, I had this also as a key track. I thought the lyrics were kind of funny. It's kind of like they're calling out their friend for being down about a breakup or something like that. I thought the storyline against that kind of cool 80s type, new wave type sound, more or less. I thought it was a good contrast overall. Really solid track.
Sure, and you mentioned they're sort of talking to their friend. You hear that on a lot of tracks here. That's why I said it sort of sounds like that little voice in your head. There's this sort of underlying tone of like motivational speech, sort of pep talk. I don't know who he's talking to half the time, but it is sort of that little voice in your ear. So good pick up there, Derek. For my next key track, I have Villian, which is this dirty, dark, sludgy bass hook that grabs you just right from the start. Really perked my ears up to this song. It's got a tribal pounding percussion and this 80s pop synth lead. Makes for this nice little dichotomy there. And again, sort of deadpan delivered vocals, which are a stalwart for Junip here. And my only complaint here is the song's too friggin' short. It's like 2 minutes, and I wanted it to keep going. But I think that's what makes a good song, is you don't want it to stop. Right, Derek?
That's right. That's right. I thought that one was pretty good. I thought it reminded me a lot of Black Keys, kind of. Yeah, it was so quick. It was they really hit a nice track there, but it was over too quick. The next key track I had, I think we shared, was "Walking Lightly." Once again, kind of a very positive, kind of uplifting type lyrics. However, this one was kind of interesting because lyrically, there wasn't too much to it. However, they really did a good job kind of blending in and working in and out a lot of different musical lines, and really kind of built in momentum and intensity as the song continued. And they would work in the lyrics and vocals again, a lot of layered vocals there. Overall, once again, I thought they really hit their stride as far as blending together some of the acoustic sound along with the electronic stuff going on, and one of the highlights of the album right here.
Yeah, I actually thought this was the best song on the album. It's another one of the few more upbeat tracks. It's lighthearted but a little deep, and you mentioned it's not really deep lyrically. They sort of harp on the same line, but it's pretty good. We're all walking lightly. Let these moments last. Could be gone so fast. Keep walking lightly. Just sort of this lighthearted tune. It's got some bright percussion, some tambourine and bongo, and it kind of makes me want to jump in a conga line. It's got these ever-present guitar reverb and light synth flourishes, like you mentioned, and overall just a really feel-good, simple song that I thought made it the best one on the album. Well, that's it for key tracks. Brings us to best lyric. I have a line here from Villian. The line is, "Took a trip across the rivers, sent home a portrait as a villain." And I like it. It's not a perfect rhyme, but it sounds really dark and sinister, which really fits that song very well. And just one of the more clever lines, I thought, on the album overall. What'd you have for best lyric, Derek?
I took one from Your Life, Your Call, and I guess contrary to yours, this one does have some pretty good rhyme scheme going on. No point in looking back over your shoulder. Leave your worries behind for a while. You'll forget everything as you get older. Just kind of a very sage words there, and I thought in the song, in the context there, it was very well delivered.
Right on, right on. And that brings us to overall rating. I'm giving this one a 3 out of 5. I thought they have a very interesting, unique, complex yet simple sound, some really lush vocals, and these really efficient, emotive lyrics, and they're delivered usually deadpan, but that kind of adds to the allure of Junip, I think. It helps set them apart. Some amazing atmospheric synth work and strong, steady percussion throughout. I just felt like they could have taken the songs to more interesting places. Sometimes they kind of riff and get in this sort of lull on the same sort of melody or vibe or beat. And honestly, I just don't get super fired up about chill music like this. I really enjoyed it. I think they're a great band, but I'm going to have to stick with a 3 out of 5. What do you say, Derek?
Overall rating, I got 3 as well. I really dig their sound as far as blending that acoustic and the electric all together. You're right. They really do kind of hit this kind of electro folk trance type thing going on, and at times they do it very well in some of the key tracks we discussed, but sometimes it just was a little off the mark. You're exactly right. It kind of seemed to drone on for a while. But the highs were very good, the lows were pretty low, so I've got to go with a 3 overall. But there's, Jose Gonzalez's talent is definitely, up front and center.
Sure. Yeah, and I thought as a band they gel really well together. So that is it, guys. Our review for Junip by Junip. So happy Tuesday. Go out and buy some new music, and we will see you next time here at last week's album, talking about good music. Cheers, guys.